It appears that Marvel still has quite a lot of tricks up its sleeves, as the cinematic universe will soon be giving its first ever deaf superhero a series of her own. Yep, Echo is all set to win everyone's hearts with her own show. In today's video, we'll be telling you some unknown facts about Hawkeye's antagonist, so sit tight and enjoy this video we've put together just for you. Let's get started. First up, her last job was rather interesting. Traditionally, superheroes tend to refrain from killing, while some characters may have a history of being more willing to resort to deadly force. For the majority of them, this moral stance puts them at a disadvantage when facing their foes. However, it is important to note that this is a characteristic that sets them apart as heroes. On the other end, Echo appears to have no qualms about killing and is quite experienced in the field. In fact, she seems to prefer operating in the shadows. This lack of reluctance to use deadly force will likely not be an issue for her. And well, these skills are bound to come in handy from time to time, as life as an MCU superhero can be quite tough to navigate. But Echo proved her worth as she used her experience to deal with the Hand Evil organization from Marvel when Daredevil asked her to go to Japan. So those people who are taking her lightly, let this serve as a warning for them. Echo has a pretty killer attitude, and she's definitely someone who's faced the worst life has to offer, which has only made her stronger. Moving on, not so much for a bad guy. Okay, so for many fans, the jury's still out on whether they perceive Echo as a good guy or a bad one, but this is most likely due to the fact that she was painted as a villain in Hawkeye. Now, as the main antagonist for Hawkeye, Echo can be the perfect villain, but that's not all there is to her character. In fact, in the comics, she has a much more dynamic personality that oscillates between good and bad. There's even a part where she creates an alias and uses the word Ronin while working with big-time good guys like Daredevil. But as expected, she's more fond of working alone. This, of course, doesn't mean that she'd say no to anyone asking for help. It's the opposite, and we think she proved that when fighting against the Hand. Following up, Hawkeye and Echo aren't all that different. Okay, this is actually connected to the character's good qualities that we were just discussing. You see, there's actually a pretty deep connection between Hawkeye and Echo. Don't you just love it when Marvel ends up pulling off a trick like this? Clint Barton was also a villain before his hero journey began in the comics. This put him in the same position as Maya Lopez, and as we can tell, her time as Ronin really managed to bring out a completely different side of the character, which confirms that she isn't beyond redemption and that she can work on herself if the situation is right. Well, that's always good to hear. Up next, her talent is unmatched. Now, we don't have much material to go on over here, but Echo's skills are mind-blowing as far as we know. As we could all tell, Hawkeye didn't do justice to the character's abilities. The amazing, impressive things she can do can't be imagined. Let's just hope we get to witness at least half of it in the upcoming series. But if you're finding it hard to wait that long, then we've compiled a list of her skills for you. Echo's various talents are impressive. She is proficient in multiple languages and also has a passion for the arts, especially playing the piano and ballet dancing. Additionally, the comics depict her as having exceptional photographic memory. It would be interesting to see her utilize this ability to quickly learn new skills simply by observing others in action. What's interesting is that it is a big problem for her enemies, as she could easily learn their fighting style just by watching them. After that, it's game over for them. Now for Echo and her string of interesting romances. Let's get this straight. Echo has broken quite the norms in the Marvel Universe. This time around, she established the preference that villains and superheroes can actually be a thing, at least for a bit. We're talking about the time when Echo was supposed to end Daredevil's life, but instead ended up spending the night with him, if you catch our drift. Now, that probably won't amount to anything, since it just seems that the superhero has a soft spot for morally ambiguous characters. That's right, he's known to like Elektra, who's not so different from Echo. But the most interesting ex-beau of the character is Hawkeye. That's very shocking, right? Considering the fact that she's supposed to be his somewhat nemesis? But according to the Secret Invasion storyline, the two actually had a short-lived fling. Obviously, just like everyone expected, it didn't last for long. And from where we're standing, it doesn't seem like MCU would be rushing to put that part in the show, since it was too small and because Clint is happily married. Not to mention, she's connected to Kingpin. Now, this is something something all Marvel fans can agree on. Kingpin is perhaps one of the best villains in the MCU. What's cool about this declaration is the fact that he has yet to appear in a single Marvel film. There are many theories about how the character might make his debut there, but whenever that may be, he's still very closely connected to Echo. Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin, is a father figure for our beloved character Maya Lopez. Her father used to work as a mob enforcer for the villain who actually was the reason behind his death. And get this, Lopez saw her father die before her, so it's bound to leave a mark. Kingpin has a major role to play in Echo's origin story. You see, he actually provided her with combat training since he recognized that she had an aptitude for it. And of course, the fact that Lopez was a quick learner could have only played to her advantage. Additionally, it was Matt Murdock, Daredevil, who initially hired Echo as an assassin, tasking her with killing him, believing he was responsible for her father's death. However, upon learning the truth, Echo discovered it was actually Kingpin who was behind her father's demise. What's wild is that she tried shooting him, but unfortunately the villain survived. Now for Echo and the Phoenix Force. When you hear the name Phoenix Force, Jean Grey immediately pops up in your mind, right? That's because she's pretty much the most popular superhero who hosted the Phoenix in her body, but did you know that Echo is another one? That's right, and while she was the host, Echo promptly changed her identity to Thunderbird. Now her actions haven't been developed, but you'd be happy to know that Jean Grey gave her some advice on handling all this. Well, at least she's got some supervision. Before you get all excited, let's just tell you that the chances of this storyline making it to the screens are actually very less, since that would mean she'd get more powers and her opposition won't really be a match for her. Could you even imagine Clint and Kate Bishop going against Echo with the Phoenix Force living in her body? Yeah, we don't even want to think about it. But that's not the only reason we don't see Marvel develop this plot. You see, the X-Men aren't really a part of the MCU at the moment, and since the Force is sort of from that part of the story, introducing it would make everything much more complicated. Next up, she actually died a while back. Alright, we know it's an overly used trope in the superhero genre, but don't you think it's pretty cool that Echo got to be a part of that group who gets to resurrect? This incident actually took place after Elektra ended up killing her, but how did she come back to life? Well, that we believe was the work of a little organization called the Hand. That's a cool plot twist, right? Since she was supposed to end them, and get this, they brought her back to life and forced her to kill their enemies. That's quite resourceful of them, don't you think? But fortunately, she was finally able to come out of that trance with the help of our favorite doctor, Dr. Strange. Just leaving a bonus fact here, she also tried to kill him. So things aren't really all that black and white with this one. Lastly, could Maya Lopez be an Avenger? Alright, let's be honest, this question has been nagging us for quite some time now, and it puts forward a very interesting idea since Echo, in her anti-hero days, spent a lot of time fighting against the Avengers and everything they represented. But it's important to know that the poor girl never acted alone. So in a way, her actions don't depict her true nature, since she was either being controlled by Kingpin or brainwashed by the Hand. Some of you might even know that Lopez considered joining the Avengers, but thought against it since she didn't consider herself worthy enough. There's some good news though. She joins them during a battle against the Silver Samurai and helps them out from time to time. So maybe somewhere in the future, she'll finally get to join them full time. Now that's something we'd love to see on our screens. That's a wrap for this video, folks. Did you know these crazy facts about Maya Lopez, aka Echo? Did we miss out on anything? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more awesome videos like this. See you in the next one with the latest updates.